Sheev Palpatine has never been known to be the most tolerant individual. Being a very human-centric person, one of his first etiquettes as Emperor was to inspire segregation and oppression over the many non-human species in the galaxy. But there was one in particular race that he seemed to hate the most. Many of you likely recognize the Mon Calamari, an amphibious species that has been extremely prevalent in the galaxy ever since their debut in Return of the Jedi. Throughout his rule as Emperor, then his resurrection, and even after his final death, Palpatine did everything he could to utterly destroy the aquatic species, and oddly enough, it had nothing to do with any power they had in the Force. He just genuinely hated them. So, join us today as we open a holocron and find out why Palpatine despised the Mon Calamari more than any other species in the galaxy. Welcome Acolytes to the archives, and let us begin. The Mon Calamari hail from the mostly aquatic planet, which so far has several names. In canon, it is known as Mon Cala. In legends, it is referred to as Calamari, but more commonly, it is referred to as Dak. Since today's story happens mostly in legends, we're going to refer to the planet by its legend's name of Dak. These were an amorphous species that enjoyed the pleasure of being able to survive indefinitely in water as well as on land. Their species was known for having a soft-spoken and a benevolent nature. Two things they enjoyed the most was art and anything that had to do with starships. The Mon Calamari were known to be incredible pilots and starship builders as well, even if their ships were a little strange by most galactic metrics. It was said that the Mon Calamari was in the cockpit of a ship, they would fly as if it was a paintbrush, flying with grace and style. But besides this, they were fiercely intelligent individuals. Behind their quiet and reserved natures were minds with tactical genius and creativity. In the Mon Calamari's hands, any tool became an instrument of art or music, which allowed them to have a very unique perspective on handling problems. But the most admirable quality of the entire species, and probably the reason that Palpatine hated them so much, was their ironclad will. Despite their orderly exterior, they were enthusiastic beings with an unbreakable spirit of determination and legendary dedication. Once a Mon Calamari set their sights on completing something, very little could sway this course, as they were idealistic, daring, and they often fixated themselves on causes that seemed hopeless or lost from the beginning. Ultimately, a Mon Calamari often attempted to demonstrate that even dreamers and thinkers were capable of daring and bravery when the time was needed. This meant that they often placed stock in the greater good and thought of the needs of the society above the good of the individual. This kind of selflessness and resolve ran completely contrary to that of the Sith. And despite their species not being especially strong in the light side of the Force like the Ithorians or the Kel Dor, or even having particularly high birth rates of Force sensitives, Darth Sidious absolutely loathed them beyond all other species in the galaxy. At least the Ithorians and the Kel Dors mostly kept to themselves, but the Mon Calamari insisted on exploring the stars and piloting their ships, spreading their goodwill wherever they went. Ironically, Palpatine for a long time held a certain fixation with them. While not a fan of non-humans in general, Palpatine was quite fond of their ballet and found pleasure in their greater arts. Squid Lake is the name of a ballet that Palpatine is shown watching in the Opera House with Anakin in Revenge of the Sith. It was a performance straight from Dak created by a genius Mon Calamari composer. Somehow, this ballet spoke to Palpatine in a unique way, urging him towards the dark side as he could hear almost the sirens calling him. We say this because Palpatine took the time to have Anakin see it as well, and this was far from the first time that Palpatine had watched it. Squid Lake had been the ballet that Palpatine watched with his master Plagueis just before murdering him in the penthouse later that same night. In an unsettling turn of events, Palpatine would recall the events of that night to Anakin while watching the same ballet. The moment he tells Anakin how Plagueis couldn't save himself from death, we watch his eyes fixate on the ballet as he vividly relives that moment with a grand smile. Unfortunately though, their lovely arts didn't save the Mon Calamari from Sidious's disdain or wrath when he became the Emperor. Palpatine immediately saw them as nothing more than slaves for the Imperial war machine, but it was here that Palpatine made one of his greatest errors, as what the Empire did would change the peaceful Mon Calamari forever. Their people were angry with the Empire, as it not only attempted to enslave them, but it was spreading false information about their species to the rest of the galaxy. The Calamari refused to work for the Emperor, and rebelled with a silent protest. This enraged Sidious, and he ordered that 3 of the cities of Dak be destroyed immediately. Thousands died in this incident, shaking the very core of the planet. However, this did not have the intended effect that Sidious wanted, as instead of breaking the Mon Calamari's will, it only strengthened their resolve. The Mon Calamari would later join up with the Quarrens, their historical enemies, to rise up against the Imperial oppression on the world. This resulted in them successfully forcing the Empire off the planet, further inflaming Palpatine's rage. Sidious was having none of this, and according to a later account by Admiral Ackbar, he had placed Dak at the top of his list of destruction for the Death Star. Luckily though, the Alliance managed to destroy the terrible machine during the Battle of Yavin, and unbeknownst to them, snatching the entire Mon Calamari race out of the jaws of extinction. The rebels would soon liberate a specific Mon Calamari slave by the name of Giel Ackbar, who had been in the service of Grand Moff Tarkin. Ackbar went back to his homeworld and encouraged all of them to offer their aid to the Rebel Alliance that had saved them all. To Palpatine's shock and terror, the Mon Calamari would be the first alien species to officially join the rebellion. Instantly, they turned the war effort around as they not only provided the rebels with capital ships made from Mon Calamari passenger cruisers, but also stocked rebel high command with their much-needed tactical leaders. Ackbar was elevated to the rank of admiral, and the Mon Calamari began a sudden aggressive attack run against the Empire, instantly winning 4 major victories and liberating entire worlds in the process. These Mon Calamari leaders were able to rival the minds of the Imperial admirals due to their ability to remain calm in stressful situations and make decisions without emotional urgency. Admiral Ackbar was the best of all of them, able to use whatever small resources he had to cobble together cohesive attack plans against entire fleets of Star Destroyers. All in all, they were absolutely instrumental in the success of the rebellion, and Palpatine was livid because of his actions. The peaceful Mon Calamari, who before had only ever been a minor annoyance, turned into a major problem as they made the rebels a viable threat. Their creative genius was turned from the arts and became completely militaristic, a trait which would be indicative of their species moving forward. Following the fall of the Empire, the Mon Calamari insisted on remaining a part of the New Republic military as their protection, and would remain in that service for the rest of Legends continuity. After Palpatine's physical death during the Dark Empire crisis of 10 ABY, Palpatine resurrected himself by essence transfer into a younger clone body, but before he had even unveiled the new Empire, or even revealed that he was alive, he instantly set his new superweapons to the planet of Dak first. These terrible new machines were called World Devastators. They were massive, boxy ships that housed internal starship factories many times larger than a Star Destroyer. They would go to planets and completely drain them of all of their resources. That organic material would then be processed through the Devastator's internal factory to convert it to raw material that they then made into starships, weaponry, and anything that the Dark Empire may need. Each of these World Devastators were basically their own version of the Starforge, except they didn't use the Force and fed off of planets instead of star energy. And out of sheer spite, Palpatine sent 2 or 3 of them to Dak. Luckily though, the New Republic was able to respond quickly enough to repel the attack from Dak before the World Devastators did too much damage. But even after Palpatine's final death, the Mon Calamari would continue to feel his unending wrath. An Imperial warlord by the name of Admiral Dalla would launch an attack on Mon Calamari in the following year of 11 ABY, a final act of revenge from beyond the grave. Even later, in the year 132 ABY, the Mon Calamari would suffer a horrendous event at the hands of the Sith. While not a direct influence by Palpatine, we thought we'd go ahead and mention how the species continues to irritate the Sith even long after Palpatine's death. One of the Mon Calamari leaders that was tied to the Galactic Alliance had been secretly aiding Alliance efforts in the wake of the One Sith taking over the Empire. This particular Calamari senator had aided in the remnants of the Galactic Alliance capture of the experimental Star Destroyer to add to their now weakened fleet. Absolutely enraged, Darth Krayt the Sith beat the Mon Calamari senator within an inch of his life. Then to further set an example, Darth Krayt ordered that 10% of the entire Mon Calamari population be eradicated immediately. In one of the worst tragedies of history, the people of Dak would be absolutely massacred by the Sith, with the whole thing being broadcast over the entire holonet to the rest of the galaxy. Later on, the One Sith would actually try to bring the entire race of the Mon Calamari to extinction, releasing a virus on Dak. But luckily, through the combined effort of the entire Alliance and all of the sentients on the planet, they were evacuated from Dak before the virus struck. But anyway, my friends, that was the race that Palpatine hated so much that he tried and failed to completely exterminate them nearly 3 times. It's insane how much determination and willpower can utterly enrage a Sith Lord who is used to being able to break anyone. The Mon Calamari people are strong and respectable. Their strength of resolve likely reminded Palpatine of the true Jedi like Yoda, Qui-Gon Jinn, Obi-Wan, and Luke Skywalker. The harder the Sith pushed, the more they resisted. So he attempted to wipe them out, but somehow had all of his efforts thwarted time and time again. Because of this, the Mon Calamari would continue to be an integral part of the morally righteous side of the New Republic as well as the Galactic Alliance. But tell us, did you know that the Mon Calamari people were such a problem to Darth Sidious? And had you known about their vital role in the victory of the rebellion? Let us know your thoughts in the comments down below. And as always, my friends, thank you so much for joining us today for another Holocron reading, and may the Force be with you.